Where's the love? Where's the love? It's right here in the heart of the city. I'm Silas Grant, and I got my man with me.
Yo, yo.
OTL, what's up, Slim?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm all right,
Yeah,
home,
yeah,
Feeling good, man, coming off a good weekend, you know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
man, yeah.
Yeah, man. Got a little one step walking club in, you know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? Angel cookout, 4th of
Happy birthday
July.
to Angel,
Yeah,
too.
happy birthday to Angel, man. Happy 40th, too.
Happy 40th
It's a
birthday, yeah.
milestone.
Significant
Yeah, man, for sure.
milestone, yeah.
Yeah, man.
She puts on a joint, don't she?
Man, I mean, and look, like you think about, I've been thinking about it since we left, bro. And it's every year is like this, but you know, the, honestly, man, I don't know if it's another event that just brings together that range of people in such a organic and comfortable way. What's interesting, I think, the people that's there have no idea sometimes who everybody knows somebody, but they don't. People
No,
might not
yeah.
know who right beside them. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, and sometimes it's like for us, we be more aware of who certain people be. Like, they ain't got no clue
Yeah, ain't no clue.
who that is beside me, and vice versa. So it's just really cool to see that, man.
I bust out laughing because I just thought about something. So I'm in a group chat with some friends of mine. Some of them you know.
Right.
And most of the guys in this chat, just by chance, they happen to be from Maryland.
Okay.
One of them said in the chat, man, I was told that's like a DC native cookout. And I bust out laughing because I was
Yeah.
like, nah, that's not what it is, right?
Yeah.
And I was kind of explaining, what it is to the best of my ability. A lot of it you can't put into words. But I laugh because it is one of those events where people start playing telephone, where everybody's kind of explaining what their perception of what it
Sure.
is, right? And then it gets to the point where a couple of my friends who kind of know her didn't come because they were like, nah, that's for DC natives.
Yeah, I mean,
And I was like, nah, that's far from what it is, though.
because her friend circle
Yeah.
definitely extends far beyond that. Of course, it's some DC natives certainly there,
Yeah.
but yeah, her friend circle is vast, man. And every year, people come out though. I think is the most important thing. And most people in that yard got a lot going on, but they come for her, man. I think
Yeah.
that really is a testament to who she is and what she is. You know what I mean? So again, to me, that's always one of the best days of the year.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that the common theme is the fact that the people there are doing well, contributing to society in a great way, and that's a safe space for them to be able to enjoy themselves and each other
Yeah.
and meet new people
Yeah,
too.
meet other people
Other people,
that's
yeah.
doing, and they can just kick back too. And whoever you are, or whatever you are, you know what I mean. In that environment, you just, you cool. You ain't gotta, you just there to enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. That's pretty cool. You know what I mean.
So when I walked in there, I got there much later than you did. One of the first people I saw when I walked in is our guest tonight.
Yeah.
And he stepped right to me like, listen, I got a 2-week window and you about to make this happen. We gonna get this show
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
So
2
I was
weeks
like,
for.
I said,
Yeah.
all right,
Say no more.
say no more. We're gonna
Yeah.
set it up. So we are joined tonight, man, by a near and dear friend to us.
Question.
Somebody that's, making waves on a national and international level, impacting the lives of young people through athletics and academics. And someone that we've been trying to get this episode together for a while, but then
Yeah.
again, when I seen him, he's like, "Nah, it's gonna happen in these next 2 weeks." So
Yeah, you got a lot going on.
yeah, he got a lot going on.
He got a lot going
Yeah,
on.
so I want to introduce to some and really to everybody, good friend of ours, man, Aazaar Abdul-Rahim.
Yes, Lord.
What's up, bro?
What's up? What's up,
Jeff?
man? Good to see y'all,
Good
man.
to see you too, man.
Yeah, man. You
No,
know,
speaking of that cookout, man, that was a great experience, man. But it was black excellence at its finest.
no
man.
question. No question.
You've spent a lot of time, again, on a national level as a coach at the collegiate level, and you've traveled to different parts of the country where it is not as black as DC, right? And now you're back in the area coaching with the University of Maryland.
Mhm.
But as a person who's been extremely successful and accomplished a lot and helped a lot of people, what is it like for you to be in those environments and to get that sort of like safe space experience?
That's a good question. I think football kind of makes it a little easier. Football sometimes doesn't really have the same racial lines or gender lines. When you're a part of a football program, take Alabama. My first 2 years of college after high school. I mean, after coaching high school was at the University of Alabama. And a quick story. So I'm at. They got tornadoes down there. Those twisters is real down there. But they got a system where you hear horns and sirens, and the news they kind of like track it. So I get off the airport. I'm at Birmingham Airport, and my car is in like one of those carports, and they like, hey, it's going right toward Tuscaloosa. Like you can't drive that way. And I'm like, I say it out loud. I'm like, dang, I'm gonna miss practice. And somebody behind me is like, this normal, regular, white, Caucasian man is just behind me. And he's like, what kind of practice?
Yeah.
And I was like, I work for University of Alabama. I'm an assistant coach there. He was like, you can stay at my house.
Yeah.
You can stay at so my point is, like, if I'm regular Aazaar Abdul-Rahim, like, that's not going to probably be said. But so it's a little skewed, I would say, that it's not the reality that most of people that look like me, have to experience. But, football, like I said, you wasn't a color down there. You were crimson.
Right.
You were like, this is Alabama
Right.
football. You're not. You're good, man.
Hey, what and first of all, I say that what I'm about to say, I don't want to infer that like, is that, every white person in Alabama is a racist or nothing, right? But I'm just saying, like when you just gave that story, it made me think about that scene and Do the Right Thing. We said, well, Magic's not a nigga. He's Magic. He's not a nigga. He's Magic. You know what I'm saying? So let me ask you this though, right? This is definitely not gonna be a race show, but one of the questions that I just thought about was, in America, right? I think we are raised to believe that the South is automatically more racist, right?
Mm-hmm.
You worked at the University of Alabama. You also worked at Boston College, right? Did you feel a difference across racial lines in Boston versus Alabama? Was one worse than the other?
No, I think, and this is in general, because I've experienced a lot, right? I've been on the West Coast, I've been in the South, and obviously the Northeast. And I think you just got to take everyone individual, as an individual person.
Sure.
It's bad stuff in all parts of the country and the world.
Right here, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's you're going to see racism in certain parts, and a lot of it is just ignorance. Of individuals that just don't understand other cultures. And I take it upon myself again to enlighten people and not. You can't take it as a negative so much if someone doesn't understand your culture. Your job may be, some of my job I feel like is to enlighten and to, essentially give people information that they never looked at it a certain type of way. So I think that's important.
Sport too is that like
that's the
y'all
vehicle.
a team. That's right.
Right.
And y'all got a common goal.
Right.
Or
exactly.
if they are a fan, they like
And
so.
and you know what? Part of my spiel sometimes, man, is explaining to individuals, because I've never worked for a historically black college,
Right.
so majority of my experience is a multicultural environment. And the locker room is essentially life. When you really look at a locker room, you have different age groups, you have different races, you have different religions. You have different just preferences, whether it's male, female, female, male. But like your job as a coach is essentially to bring them together for a common goal, to build a culture, a shared belief, a shared experience. So you have to figure out ways for everyone to be on the same page, beyond just sports, but just so you can coexist and create a healthy environment of 120 people. So if you can do it in the locker room, you essentially can do it, in regular life.
So let me ask you this. we jumped into like sort of the right now, but you just talk about establishing sort of this shared consciousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk talk to us a little bit about the first team you coached, right? And how have what did you learn from that first group of young men, that I would imagine, came from, we talk about culture, came from a culture, or families that, was some struggle involved. And what did you learn from that group of young men? Where was it, and how do you, sort of infuse that into what you're doing today?
All right. So I started coaching high school, just by chance. I didn't know if I was even going to be a coach. It was a new charter school that opened up in Northeast DC called Friendship. It was actually called Friendship Edison Schools, back in the early 2000s. And someone had told me about a job, and hey, man, you could start a football program there. And I just blindly just went and ended up getting a job as a guidance counselor, and started a program. So I was extremely naive in the process of in the importance of what I needed to do. What I did always, I always feel, I tell people all the time, is I have a passion for people. So like I enjoy working with young people. So I knew I could figure out everything else beyond that. So a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot at first. It was. I just remember standing out in front of the building of on Minnesota Avenue, and just standing in front and making young men stay in the building after school, because I was like, ain't nothing out here for you, and you have to do weight training, you have to do study hall, you have to do all those things. And it took probably 6 years before I could stop doing that. I was at Friendship for probably 13 or 12. But after the 6th year, it was understood nobody leaves the building. You go up for study hall. And so that was probably the biggest test, was just getting them to stay.
Yeah.
Just stay in the building. And obviously we had a great staff. We ended up getting better. Probably every year we got better, just a little bit better, a little just inch steps, baby steps better. And ended up being a pretty good program, obviously, in this area. And with a lot of kids, still it's two it's two players that play for the Commanders right now that play for us in high school. So consistency, right? It starts, because I was young. I was about 24 or 25, and it really starts with me, being consistent. A lot of 25-year-olds, they ain't doing that every day. I'm just trying to groom young coaches, and it's hard to get them to understand the importance of being on time, being the first person in the building, being the last one to leave the building, a disciplined individual, the sacrifice of, instead of just going to a happy hour or going out to the club, like you got to stay in and you got to do extra stuff and leave, and leave later. And it's a hard sacrifice. So it starts with me in the discipline, and then too, it's giving them a roadmap for success. And the most difficult part of that early was there was no roadmap. It was just like belief. Hey, believe in what I'm saying. Believe in this. Believe in that this will happen or that will happen. And once the scholarship started rolling in, it became hold up.
Yeah,
and that's sometimes our issue, in my opinion. Like it's just not enough visionary thinkers. It's not enough individuals. It's too many individuals, and this is just my opinion, that wait for everything to be super right to jump in and do what they need to do. And everything is never going to be right.
Yeah.
You just got to keep working. And good things happen when you work hard.
I want to paint a picture along those lines, right, of that time, because that's like 2002, 2003, right? Somewhere in that area.
Yeah, I think the first year was 03.
Yeah, so I want to paint a picture real quick and then ask a question. So before we cut the cameras on, we were talking about Dunbar Rack, New York Avenue Playground, number 2 Boys and Girls Club, right? I'm thinking about my time when I played baseball at Woodridge, Coach Mason, and
I played at Woodridge, man.
You did?
I did.
All right. Yeah, I was down there. I forgot what year it was, but I played like 1 year for Coach Mason, right?
Yeah, man.
And other coaches like him who their profile was much different than yours. They were much older. They acted older. To your point, they were not conflicted by the social life of DC. They were all in on the kids. They wore the old coach's pants up to the belly button, right? It was a whole different era and a whole different
It
aura,
was.
right? Not only were you younger, but Friendship Edison is a charter school, and that was new too at that time,
It was.
right?
That's right.
It was.
So you've got all these doors that you got to knock down at one time. As a young leader, being 24 years old, did you envision the success that you ended up getting, and how did you map that out?
No, I didn't. I didn't envision it. This is probably some of my flaws. What I've been told a little bit is that I'm not very goal oriented. I'm more of a
Gotcha.
doer than someone that says, "Hey, I'm gonna get this. We're gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that." Somebody who just kind of dives in and gets to work. And I'm strategic when I get to work, but I'm not. I didn't know. I couldn't dream about how it would have been. I will say this: I had a lot of really good help. That people that were similar to my age, that we kind of, as the adults, we kind of banded together and we created that together. So I had a lot of help. It wasn't just myself doing this and that. Like, we had a team of friends,
Right.
couple of guys that came from San Diego State with me, from college. Childhood friends like Timba,
Yeah.
Mike Hunter, who's there right now.
Yeah.
Like, we kept the same staff together. I don't know if y'all even know Manoso Rogers.
I remember that
He was
name.
he was the head coach, former head coach of Wilson Jackson Reed. But we had a band of coaches. We stayed together like this, literally the same staff for 9 or 10 years. Like, and so we had a lot of fun. And don't get me wrong, we weren't just, we had a lot of fun.
I got you.
But
Yeah.
doing it together as a collective unit was part of the rewards. And what made it cool is, everybody kind of checked their ego, and we all had specific roles, and we did our roles, and we loved our roles.
Y'all
And we loved
won.
going in there.
Y'all won.
Oh, yeah. we
Y'all won,
for
yeah.
sure.
But I think, and the biggest win, I think, just in terms of the impact, Silas, sort of in your opener. But I wanna sort of unpack that, because I don't want people to really to miss the importance. Like, you guys, the program that you built. I think having all those positive black men on that staff, you changed lives, man. And you guys modeled for those young men who came from different parts of the city about what they could become. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. I get certain text messages that make me choke up sometimes, because it's somebody who played for me, who their son is like 10, and there's a couple of kids named Aazaar, what I mean?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
his name, which is,
That's all right.
yeah.
Well, you got other people, kids named after you, Slim.
Come on, man.
Now
I,
this-
I ain't trying to brag.
That's all
They're
right.
not my kids, man. Let's get that straight.
Nah, you the great. It's like you like granddad. That's a That's a serious.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
man.
that is, man.
But
Yeah.
so you feel very fortunate about, because I feel like I'm rewarded more than all of the other stuff.
Right.
Because I do feel like I've done some things in the world. I was a servant leader, and I did some things in the world that helped some other individuals.
No, that's a fact.
You
That
know.
can't be questioned. And you always, through the years, especially when certain things are happening in the city, and you clearly were always concerned more deeply than just about what's happening with your players on the field. You know what I'm saying?
agree.
I mean, at the end of the day, I know that you saw yourself in all your players. Like, you are them. You know what I'm saying?
Agree.
And so, like, but I think as with people that's working with young people, whether it's coaching or teaching or whatever, I think it's a power in that that people, I think, negate sometimes when those young people are clear on that. When they clear how much you care about them, man. That go a long way, man.
Here's the thing. I had a defensive. I'm the co-defense coordinator at Maryland, so I had a defensive but a defensive meeting with all of the players on the defense.
Right.
And it can be difficult at times, maneuvering in this new age of college football with NIL, guys getting paid, some guys aren't. It's difficult to build a unit and get in a one direction, kind of some of the culture things that we talked about, of just, having a shared belief and a shared attitude and a shared vision. And literally today, that one of I couldn't get one individual to stand up because you get portal kids, you get kids coming in June and July, and this is probably pretty common across the country. I couldn't get one kid to stand up and say the first and last name of everybody in the room.
Mm.
And so I'm like, okay, if we're going to have success this year as a defense, it has to be some form of motivation. Culture is that shared vision, but what's motivating us? And to your point, the highest level of motivation for anyone, this is any career or anything, if you're some type of leader, if you're trying to motivate somebody, some people say incentives, some people say intimidation. The highest form is love. So to your point, if you just understand at a young age, any type of leader, that the first thing you need to do as a leader is love your constituents or your staff or your kids, like everything is easy. So we did a little exercise. I made everybody new stand up. Hey, stand up, tell yourself, say your name, say where you're from, tell me something about yourself. And like after we did that, I was like, all right, give me somebody over here, stand up, tell him everybody's name. And he was like, bop, 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 Joe.
Yeah.
Went through the whole deal. I had another D lineman stand up, went through the whole deal. And I was like, we just got closer. And obviously, relationships are ongoing.
Sure.
So it's about trust, it's about love, but it's ongoing. But if you don't build it, you're literally, man, your foundation, man, is going to be a weak and cracked foundation.
You have been called the lion tamer, where you can go into
The lion
environments
tamer.
and recruit people that may not be easy to recruit, get people to buy in that may not be easy to buy in. You've got this sort of fierce approach. That's what Coach Loxley called you in the article I read, the lion tamer. What do you think when you hear that?
No, I mean, I don't know. It's Here's the deal. Like some coaches hate recruiting, okay? But again, if you know me, like I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy building relationships. So it's not a pain to me. All right. So I built a lot of relationships in this area, in the football arena. Whether it's former players, whether it's former colleagues, whether it was some former adversaries. Who we one thing I will say, what I've done is I'm always honest. It's not a lot of people that say, "Oh, it's Coach Aazaar, he lied to me about this,"
Right.
and I'm always fair. I've always been fair to people, and I think that has helped me more than anything. I don't think one person can go and just grab, "Oh, I'm about to get this kid. I'm about to." No, you need other individuals. Like I need certain mentees. I got certain guys that I used to mentor who are prominent coaches in this area right now who say, "Hey, coach, I want my kid to play with you because I know you're going to take care of him and I know you're going to, treat him the right way." And that probably has helped me more than anything. Now, I feel like I can carry a conversation on my experiences. My experiences have been broad. I grew up in all black area and I went to school at an all white school. I live with Filipinos. I've lived in Boston, whereas we're probably 1% or 3%. So I really feel like that's one thing my mom and dad taught me is to talk to people in a language that they understand. And so I'm not saying that I'm a chameleon, but I try to figure out like what is important to that individual at that specific time, and I hone in on it. I think it's a little bit counseling background. Just sometimes it's studying body language, studying who is the central champion of that particular situation. But it's a lot of times it's paying attention.
I was kind of curious about your first period with Nick Saban, coming from your own program at the high school level and then jumping right into Alabama.
Yeah.
What were some lessons that you learned, either the hard way or the straightforward way, working for Nick?
Oh, we got a few lessons. All right. So just so I'm going into my probably my 12th or 11th year, and Friendship, Collegiate became kind of a powerhouse, just like that, where it became a hotbed where every coach was coming through there. And we had a lot of good players, and national players. And obviously Alabama was at the top of the food chain, and they would send people up, and Nick Saban would come up frequently, and he would come up, and he would. I was so excited to meet him one time. I had my mom and my dad in there, man, in my office, like, yeah, you need to beat Nick Saban too, and we were there, and he did his spiel, and he was like, "Why don't you come down?" And he knew he's a DB guy. I'm a DB guy.
Right, I forgot about that.
He is
yeah.
a DB. He loves talking it. I love talking it with him, and I learned a lot from him. But I would go to his camps and just work his camps and just watch him, and just learn, and and I would coach, and doing that like for 2 years, he he had called me in the office, and I was just like, "Coach, man, I'm thinking about getting into college football." And he just came out and was like, "Well, why don't you just work here?" And I was just like, "What?" I'm like, not Aazaar from Northeast DC. Like, come on, man, I'm a high school coach. And he was like, "Yeah, your wife will be happy here." And I was just like, "Okay." I was just like, "Well, let me think about it." And so after this was in July or June, July. So after the season, he invited me down. He was like, "Look, because I told him I wanted to do it." He brought me down to they were playing Oklahoma in a bowl game, and he was like, "I want you to stay down here for 2 days. I want you to make sure this is what you want to do," because I had no idea like what college football entails. Like it's completely different than high school. And so I'm down there and I'm watching practice, and it was cool. And so after practice, it's like 7, 8 o'clock, and I'm thinking like the day is done.
Yeah.
And he like, "All right, we're going back." So they watching film. It's like 10, 11, 12. I'm nodding. I'm like, look, I'm like sleeping there. Like, I'm sleep. I wake up. I look around. Damn near the whole staff sleep. One person got the little clicker, and he locked in. Just keep watching, keep going. And I was like, this man is not human.
Yeah.
Like, this is impossible. Long story short, I took the job. First lesson I learned is that being a coach that's recruited and a coach that works with Saban is two different worlds. Because I swear, I got down there in the first 2 months, he did not speak to me. Like, would walk right past me.
Even though, so he wanted you to come, but now it's time for you to earn your
it
bones,
was like,
make your bones. We'll hit the rest of the
yeah,
staff.
yeah. It was like initiation.
Yeah,
And
wow,
to the point, but of course, the DC in me, I couldn't.
that's right.
I'm like, "Good morning, coach." They used to be so. Some of the staff would be like, "Man, something wrong with you, man." But I'd be like, "Coach, good morning, man. What's up? You good?"
Yeah.
'Cause Coach, man, he had he had like a couple of coins in his pocket, and like he's so intimidating as a person that he walks down the hall and he'll have his hand in his pocket, and you hear that thing. You just see people running and trying to get busy, and you hear that little coin click, and you see it's like some crazy stuff going on. So that's the first thing. All right, is that you're not in Kansas anymore. Like this is real. Like you're gonna have to lock in and really show your worth, because that's what it is down there. It's an enormous amount of people. You probably have 3 assistant coaches for each position, and you might get a task. I remember I did a empty report. The empty formation, and I handed it to Kirby Smart, and I swear I spent probably about a day on it, trying to get it right, making sure the squares and everything, all the information is right. And man, I swear he looked at it for a second and just kind of just threw it. I was just like, man. But guess what? I did what I needed to do. So you just learn where, like, whatever job you have, whatever task you have, it needs to be the best task, for you to show. So what I decided to do is I'm going to help every coach figure out I'm gonna try to figure out every coach, how can I make their job easier. And most of it was recruiting. most of the DC area. So I would help them recruit every kid down there, from like Terrell Hall. You had, Deshaun Hand was down there. You had Trayvon Diggs was coming down there every like he was coming down there since the 9th grade. So we had a lot of good DMV players that were getting down there. So, but my point is, like, you got to show value in places like that where it's competitive. You got to think Lane Kiffin, head coach right now, Dan Lanning, head coach of Oregon, Kirby Smart, the head coach of Georgia, Mario Cristobal, the head coach of Miami.
All was on that staff.
All on the staff. We were all on the same staff, and I'm missing some people.
It's the coach from Texas too, right?
Sark wasn't there when I was there.
Oh, okay.
He was after. I'm missing some people. Tosh Lupoy, who's the head coach he's at Georgia. He's Oregon defensive coordinator. Doug Belk is like co-defensive coordinator USC. So it's like a crew.
Yeah.
All right, of like coaches where I kind of figured that, you end up landing somewhere else. The other thing is, like, you have to be process driven, and this is probably the more important lesson that I've learned is like Saban, he's not outcome driven, so he's not looking at, all right, it's March, we gotta win that game. He's crushing March 1st, whatever day that is, and he keeps his head down. So he's never like up here, and he never goes down there. It doesn't matter about which game, who we playing. I remember we were playing like Middle Tennessee State, and you would think we playing the Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah.
And guess what? We won by 50, and he come in there and he just cussing everybody out.
Yeah.
Telling them how bad this is and how bad that is. And we lost to Ole Miss with Hugh Freeze was there. And I just knew everybody was about to get cussed out. But he coming like, we got our coach. We need to get our stuff together. So, like, he'll throw you off. But, again, process driven, just about winning the day, winning just this specific day.
I remember, man, when you went there, you had the little party at Park. And I remember thinking, I remember asking Rob, like, man, he really going to Alabama? And it's like, here, man, sometimes, man, people, and I've tried to always, like, not fall into this, though, because I think it's important, man. To me, that was so incredible. He going to Alabama, coach at Alabama.
Yeah.
Like, that's big. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes later down the road, like, I think when you breaking down a barrier or establishing a new pathway or something, you don't know it at the time, right? But, like, have you, and you've done, like, all the things we talked about you've done since then, but, like, have you thought about, or in that moment, are you thinking, like, damn, I'm about to, like, potentially, like, open up a door, not just for people from this area, like, players, young men that may have opportunity to get to a place like Alabama, but for even all of the, high school coaches that the reality that they can launch into, not just college football, but, like, the upper echelon of college football.
Yeah. Now I'm blessed, man, because I'm not the best coach to ever come out of this city, and it's been so many coaches that I stand on their shoulders. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I'm just fortunate. What I will say is, that Alabama transition was an extreme sacrifice. I'll tell you straight up, I was making about 85, 90,000 at Friendship, as a guidance counselor / head football coach, and Saban offered me $31,000 to go down there, and I had just had my second kid, so I had a 3-year-old, I had a 1-year-old, all right, and so obviously I talking to my wife, and I'm like, hey, I'm about to go to Alabama, and by the way.
Yeah, we taking a 50. We
dropping
dropping
a 50 grand cut.
Yeah.
And so I remember Mel Tucker was another coach too.
That's it. Yeah.
I literally explained to her, like, hey, this about to hit down here. Like, they just won like their second championship or third or something, and I'm like, this is like they gonna have coaches that's gonna go up, I literally hit the storm like literally the only way it probably could have been hit. And I stayed down there. And again, yeah, I want people to understand the sacrifices it takes, because it's not just like, oh, he just got a gift. I stayed down there. I stayed in the dorms with the players, and I was 30 plus years old. Stayed in the dorms with the players. Every penny I made, I sent to my wife. Like, I didn't have money to eat outside the facility. Now, luckily, Alabama got some good ass food, but I didn't do anything. I didn't go hang out. I stayed down there. And the worst part about it is that I thought I knew football before I got there. And I get down there, and it's like a whole different world. Like, it's so much that I didn't know. Literally, the first year down there, it was like going to another country and speaking a different language. Like, I literally had to sit up at night, create flashcards just so I could understand what these people are talking about in the meetings. Like, what do they say? All right, let me write this down. Let me find out what.
Yeah.
Like, just to understand. Like, I ain't want input or like, hey, coach, what you think if we didn't know? It was just, I want to hear what they talk about. They got words for every little thing of football, and it's so much more football. The first 2 months, I wanted to go back home. I was seriously contemplating, like, damn, I did not want to know that it was this much football in the world.
Right.
I did not want to know. You ever had that feeling where you like, Joe,
Yeah.
you ain't even had to tell me that, champ. That's how I felt the first 2 weeks, but I was chipping away at it. And so after my first year, I'm like, man, I'm getting out of here. I'm ready to go back home. I'm tired of 31,000, whatever else. And so Friendship offered me, the opportunity to come back. And so I told Sam, I'm like, look, man, I can't do it. My wife, I got 3 to 1. Like, we can't do it. I got to roll. And then he offered me a different salary, a different position. It was a little bit better. It was a little bit more comfier down there.
Yeah.
I still stayed in the dorm because I was saving bread.
Right.
But so it wasn't like just this extreme success story where you just it just hit like this and this and this. It just so happened my second year, Maryland, Virginia Tech, and UVA was all 3 schools was open. So I was like, I gotta get one of these.
Right.
I gotta get one of them just to get out of Alabama, and I ended up getting Maryland. Like 15 or 16. Ended up staying up there for 3 years.
Yeah.
Now,
Boston, you mean?
No, I was at Maryland first. 16, 17, 18.
Oh, that's right. As I said, I got you.
Yeah.
so along those lines, when you're moving around from Alabama, Maryland, Boston College, right? Even Coach Saban talked about, your wife would love this opportunity, and that's something that you got to consider, wife and kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Tony and I have really built this platform to be a masterclass on leadership, and a lot of leaders fail to consider at a high level the impact that their decisions have on family. So there are a lot of people that watch this platform that want to be leaders, but they don't know what all comes along with it. Talk about how you navigated being a coach in those different places and trying to balance that with family.
It's a sacrifice, and it's not something that I want to say. It's not something that like I'm extremely proud of, because we all have choices, man. That's the beauty of this thing called life is the choices that you make may affect other people. And as a parent, I mean, you guys are parents, so you always are looking and looking at your kids like, man, did I do this? Or I mean, at least I think that way. I'm always an internal type of person where, like, if I would have done this, maybe I would have done that. So a couple things, even down at Maryland, it was a lot of. At Alabama, it was a lot of stress on my wife because she had 2 young kids. So it was an extreme sacrifice. But again, I think we had enough conversations to understand, that it's going to be temporary. And I wanted it to be temporary because there was a lot of stress on her, and she created a few health problems because of that. So I didn't feel great about that. whenever I was, even going to Boston, and the fact that my wife and kids still stayed here, there are effects to that, and it's, a two-parent household, I think, is very important, and because we balance each other out, and we're different, obviously, there's certain roles that I have, and certain roles that she have, and that I think will that will help, foster a more well-rounded, so to speak, kid, by both of us being out there. And so I do feel that some of my time, that just not being in the house, and it's not even about doing something while you're there. It's just being present, being a father, really setting an example, not just with your tongue, but how you move, you know, how you are about your day, how you and your wife interact with each other. It's just a model that is probably that they learn more from non-verbally than you verbally, like, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that. I can do that over the phone. So I think I feel like I'm just getting that tight relationship with my son, she's 15 now, where because sometimes, man, well, teenagers are awkward anyway.
Yeah.
But, you know, when it's your son, you're just trying to figure out, or your daughter, any child, you're just trying to figure out how they are in the world so you can help them and be a resource. But a lot of times, sometimes they may not let you in the way you want to be in, and you have to give them time and space. It's a tug of war, but, to his, on his behalf, it's more about him being comfortable with me, him, me being home every day, and so I'm very fortunate to be back at Maryland. But I think it has to be a lot of conversation between, yourself and your spouse about how you want, first and foremost, your relationship still to be, and then it matriculates over to your children, man. And I think it's all about communication.
Shout out to Kimmy, man. Shout out to your queen, bro.
For sure. Kimmy, what up?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hey, let me ask you this. Look, man. Can you, like, and it's not even about, like, you saying, like, where specifically or whatever the case may be, right? But, like, even any career, right, you at a spot, you clearly have been somebody that's made impact wherever you have been. And you mentioned, right, and I think we are kin in this way of, like, not necessarily being somebody to say, I'm going to set, I want to do this, I want to do that. You just, whatever I'm in, I'm doing it, and we going to figure it out. But is there, like, a dream job out there for you? And are you able, just in sort of like in the most abstract way, but, like, is there a dream job, like the Commanders, like when the stadium come back, the RFK, like, that kind of, just.
I'm going to say that
Stop hating.
I aspire to be a head coach.
Okay.
And,
fair enough.
I prepare myself. I've had a few interviews, college interviews, but that's what I aspire to be, and I feel like I would be pretty good at it.
Yeah, I do too, Slim. You hear me?
I appreciate that.
I do too,
So along those lines, right? There was a big conversation a few years ago about in the black professional realm, rappers taking the acting roles from black actors, right? So rapper has no acting experience. He comes in, or she comes in, gets these roles.
Because the name is a draw.
The name is a draw, and the people who've studied the craft for decades can't get those roles.
Mm-hmm.
Now we starting to see former athletes coaching, getting head coaching jobs as their first coaching job ever.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a slew of great, credible, ready black coaches who've come up the ranks, and they get passed over for the celebrity person.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk to us about what that feels like for you, what the climate is among black coaches, like how people feel about that?
Yeah, so I can't speak for any. I'm not going to do is speak for any other coach, all right? Myself, all right? And this is wholeheartedly, all right? My path is my path,
Right.
I'm so fortunate that my biggest success story is going to be when I wasn't making any money. You know what I mean? So a lot of coaches, I feel like, let football define them. Well,
Mm.
football doesn't define me. Like the success in the community and all the things that I've done outside of football, I think should define me more. I at least hope should define me more than others. Uh, well, everybody has to understand it's like football is a business, just like anything. It's a million to billion-dollar business, and one of the main goals is to get people's butts in the seats. And a
Yeah.
lot of times that's about certain individuals,
Sure.
whether it's, former players, because every coach can't put people in the seats. You know, and God bless. It's great coaches. It's great coaches. It's great coaches right now that don't have a job,
Right.
that don't have a job right now. And the reality is that I could never hate on D. I think Deion Sanders is an icon. Like I grew up idolizing him. My jersey
Yeah.
number in at Dunbar was 21.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
grew up looking at him, and it's probably millions of people like me. So of course, like he gets an opportunity. He gets an opportunity. Like Jackson State or Colorado, and he's putting I want to say like that's the highest amount of season ticket holders in the history of the school.
Yeah.
Well, that helps the AD. That helps all the rest of the other programs in that, in that at that university. So it's really helping the deal. So giving him 7 million, or wherever he's at, 8 million right now. I mean, let's really look at how much the school is really making off of him. And if every coach can say they can do what he does, then everybody should be deserving. But it's a lot of great coaches, X and O's, right, that can't do what he does. And so we all kind of got to stay in our role, And it's getting ahead. Look, man, getting a head coaching job is it's difficult. It's a very difficult deal, and you're getting it to get fired.
So,
Pretty much.
and that's a very good point. I want to follow up real quick though, right? Because when you started talking, it got me thinking. You get taught the X's and O's. You go to Alabama, and you're like, this is way more football than I ever anticipated learning about the game, right? How do the coaches that are desiring to be head coaches, how do they learn the intangibles about working with the booster club and the alums and
Mm-hmm.
knowing how to network and knowing how to work a room and fundraise or whatever it may
Yeah,
be? How do you get those
yeah.
opportunities?
It's a great question because it's not just a blueprint, okay? Because different people have different paths. Some individuals in this profession are groomed to do that. It could be maybe because their dad was a certain person, or another individual, or a
Sure.
booster is a certain person. Like, hey, this guy is going to be the next this guy. Uh, Coach Locks is a great example. Like, I'm the associate head coach. All right, so I have other responsibilities, or other discussions with, the possible head coach about certain aspects of the program that are beyond that. I think great coaches, great head coaches, part of their job, and this is why, like, shout out to Coach Locks, is
Shout
that
out to Locks.
like he's created his own coalition, the
Yeah.
minority coalition, where really the main job is to groom minority coaches for that opportunity, And so some of it is on yourself. Like, yes, I had to learn X's and O's. I was a high school coach I went from high school football in Northeast DC to the number one football program in the country with the number one coach, probably arguably to ever coach football. So you better believe it was a learning curve. But you got to sit back and you got to grind. You got to grind. You got to learn. Like I said, you had to stay up, all times of the nights and what have you. You have to prepare yourself by a big part of just grooming yourself to coach college football is under, understanding your spiel. Like, what is your belief on culture? What is your belief on hiring staff? What is your 30-day plan? What is your 60-day plan? What is your yearly plan? These are all questions that have to be answered. That an athletic director or donors or a search firm is going to ask you. During that process. So it's other professional development opportunities through your agent or through other facets that can help you, out. But trust me, this is an uphill battle, man. It really is, because it's just like anything. Nothing is just fair or given to you.
But you know
It's,
what? Not to cut you off, and I don't mean to cut you off.
no, you
I
good.
apologize, but no, I gotta say this real quick though. I just think like the exposure sometimes you gotta get in the room, right? And like watching you over these years, like since you've been in the room and what you've been doing, right? And sometimes you probably don't see it, but like, and I mean, it's probably for all of us, like, but like, and when I say you're not different as a person, but like your level,
You
you
got a
know,
presence with you.
yeah, you on some
I appreciate
shit,
that.
bro.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
I appreciate
No, and
that.
a lot of times when somebody but we say this to a lot of our guests because we may have a personal relationship with people that come in here, but it's like, I wouldn't describe you as, oh, that's just my man Aazaar.
Right.
That I've been knowing since I was 14, 13 or something. I wouldn't say that. That's true, but I wouldn't. That's not all that you are, And then this town got a way of doing that to our brightest stars, bro. And we not on that. Like, the way what you say, right? Like even in private conversations, what you're concerned about. You know what I'm saying? Like one day we had a conversation. You were asking me questions about things that I hadn't necessarily thought about. And I think the important thing is that because your growth equals my growth, right? When his growth equals my growth. When you guys are doing things, Rod's growth, whomever, that make me stretch and grow. And I think that's the power in, you know what I mean, what you've been able to accomplish. And I want to go back a couple weeks. To like bring that statement I just made full circle as what you approach for positive choices. What year is this? The camp that you did?
21st
So
year,
it's the
man.
21st year of the camp that you do. Bringing pro players, collegiate players, coaches to engage with our next generation of football players. Can you talk a little bit about why you started to do that and just what's the whole point and how it's grown?
Yeah. So positive choices. I actually started positive choices before I got to even friendship. So I started actually me, my mom, and a couple of individuals. We ended up doing the paperwork ourselves. We did all of the IRS information, and I think my first goal was to I wanted to stay in touch with selfishly, I wanted to stay in touch with my former football teammates. And obviously I wanted to create a camp. I wanted guys to come from the West Coast to come over. And obviously I had some connections with individuals in the DC area. And I just wanted to create an environment where young people can kind of touch NFL players and college players, because when we grew up, like it was no free camps. It wasn't. I mean, I didn't go to a free camp. If you had to pay, like Art Monk camp, he wanted like $200. You know what I mean? Like those camps. So it wasn't a free camp. So I'm like, well, look, maybe if we start a football camp, and it started off with just as a camp. If we start a football camp, and they can see like these individuals are normal, regular people, maybe we can get guys to kind of feed and go in the right direction and so on and so forth. So that's how it started as a camp. And then when I got to Friendship, I really started to create programs in Friendship Collegiate Academy and some of the other middle schools, like conflict resolution programs, just mentoring programs, male and female programs. And I did that as a guidance counselor. And, shout out to Donald Hentz, who's the founder of Friendship Public Charter Schools. But he was just like, look, we're just going to pay you to run your nonprofit through Friendship Public Charter Schools and coach football. Like, you don't have to be a guidance counselor. And I was just like, I thought I was in heaven.
Yeah.
I was like, man, God is so good. You talking about Alabama? I'm like, I get paid to do programs that I love, and so we had speaking of the summer youth, we became a summer youth site. you know, and we created this program called Enrichment Training Camp where the kids could work out. And this is how we got with Becky's Fund. We started doing domestic violence. We started doing all these other financial literacy. We did all these programs, you know, within Friendship. And, you know, I was able to pay individuals from the community. I was able to pay some of my family members to be mentors and all these things through Friendship because, you know, of the partnership. So my last like 6 years was really just doing friendship programs and positive choices programs. But the positive choices camp is probably the staple pinpoint type of event, I would say, for positive choices the camp. And it's usually about 300 or 400 kids there, man, and it's free. We got a lot of hygiene. We give them giveaways, but we always try to put like hygiene packs in it, whether it's toothpaste, deodorant, you know, anything that we can get donated, you know, toothpaste, toothbrushes, all types of stuff in the bags. And this year, I think Commanders partner with us, Military Bowl, DPR, man. DPR does, you know, we always have that DPR site. They really help us a lot. But yeah, it's crazy because, man, you just blink and it's been 21 years, man.
Yeah.
21 years. I mean, it started with Vernon. Vernon Davis was coming there when he was still at Maryland.
Right.
And then he hosted it. And now I just recruited his son to go to Maryland. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we're officially old.
Yeah, nah, that does make me feel old.
Yeah,
That's
Vernon
crazy.
Davis got an 18-year-old. Yeah, Gianni, what up, Gianni? He going to Maryland. Yeah,
that's all right.
Bishop McNamara, but that's how it is. I just found out I signed another kid, or he committed another kid this year, and you know when you go on a recruiting visit. You know, they spend time with the coach and you can do a presentation and you tell them about yourself and all of that. And I always got a slide because I always tell our college kids, like, I need you to compete on the field, off the field, and in the community. You know, that's like my three, that's what I need you to do. Like, you have the greatest platform you probably going to ever have in a small period of time, and you have to use it effectively and help other people. Just showing gratitude, like, look how blessed you are. But I tell the kid, and his daddy was like, he used to go to that camp for about 6-7 years straight. And I was like, he for real? And he coming to America. You know, I had no idea. But that's the blessing.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea, but I mean, he telling me all about, we used to be teams, we used to get headbands, and you know, and I'm like, that's what's up, man. Well, now we back together, champ.
Yeah.
Now we back together, man. But yeah, to your point about recruiting, and like that's like the organic way to recruit is like try to do something for some other individuals, and guess what? It come right back to you. You know, and this kid could have went to Miami or Tennessee, and he stayed home because of that connection. I ain't saying because of that connection, but it's things that you know, this area, we're still like, we still nostalgic, you know. It's not like other areas, like especially our age, like we still have an affinity for this city, you know. And you know, when you familiarize yourself with something, or you have some nostalgic feeling about something, that sometimes helps in recruiting.
Speaking of nostalgia, I was watching some of the content for University of Maryland football last year during the season. And it feels like for the first time in probably about 30 or 35 years that Terps football, y'all are really coming with like a really edgy sort of like, we here and we in your face. And I hadn't felt that way in a very long time. So I want to get like your sense of like how you feel about this coming season.
Well, I can't speak like in totality about the season technically because I would rather the head coach who usually handles these type of things. But I'll say this, that we've got a really good staff of individuals that have some roots here, and that's on the field, you know, meaning the full-time coaches and off the field, that I really feel like we all believe that, you know, it's good things ahead.
Yeah.
You know, it's a player driven world right now. And if you can get the right amount of players to stay home and believe in a common cause, it's just like anywhere. There's so much stuff to do in DC, in this DC area that, if you're winning, we've seen it probably with the Commanders, people get behind it. So we have to do our job, put the best brand on the field. And it could be a snowstorm, a tidal wave of events, if we do what we need to do.
Still, I gotta get out to a game too this year, man.
Y'all gotta come.
Yeah, no question.
Gotta come to a game.
I want to.
Or two, man.
Yeah.
You want to, right?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, man. Fact.
I wanna pivot a bit as we close out the conversation. You put over like 100 kids in D1 schools when you were coaching high school, right? Something like that, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna say about 120, 130 kids that have gotten scholarships. D1 probably about 70, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So along those paths you've taken as a coach, there obviously are kids that don't end up making the right decisions and the ball falls in their lap, no pun intended, but they don't always make the right choices. And some of those kids are still around, right? Doing whatever they're doing. And I want you to take a few moments, if any of them are watching, and coach them up on how to bounce back from maybe football didn't work for them. Maybe they didn't put their all in it. They still look to you as an example from afar. Like, what would you say to them in this moment if you ran into one of your players that didn't make the right decisions?
I think first and foremost, my door and my phone is literally, I've had the same number for 20 years, and I can't change it because I worry about things that what you say, losing in contact with people. So first and foremost is like my number's the same. Call me so I could try to help. I think that's more important than anything is that, they always going to have my number and they can always give me a call. Life throw a lot of things at you. A lot of adversity, man, comes your way, and you do have to persevere. You have to continue to drive through. But I think that's not just my job. I think we have to do a better job as just a whole city of like embracing those type of individuals and not shunning them. Because you're right, it's a lot of individuals probably, just hitting 30. I get a lot of calls about, hey, you think you can call somebody, get a job for me? Do they got any jobs at certain schools? And so I try to help as much as I possible. But to be quite honest, Silas, I don't think I do enough. I don't think I do enough. And I think I need to do more. I call him at, from time to time and talk like literally, I think I could be doing more, and I'm going to do more, and that's kind of the new phase because I'm back. I'm able to dive, into my nonprofit because, guys do need help, man, especially in this day and age in this economy and, say they didn't finish school. And that's why we used to preach, man, graduate. Please just at least graduate because when you graduate or you have some form of something that says you're proficient in something, like you have an opportunity to possibly go to. I had another kid that he was like, Coach, I'm moving to Oklahoma, man. I was like, go, bro. Like, get the hell out of here. Like, because it could be easier to other places when you have some form of or credential saying that you're proficient in something. So, that's a tough one, man. I've lost probably about 9 players.
Wow.
Whether it was gun violence or, one was heat exhaustion when he first got to Morgan. Another was cancer.
I met that kid Morgan.
Yeah, Marquise.
Yeah.
So like, I've watched a kid who, Richard. I mean, he graduated. He finished at Morehouse. Was just signed with the Giants. Came back. Was living on Minnesota Avenue. Somebody saying he got some. They didn't like the fact he wore gold chains, and he's huge. He's like 6'7". He was like 6'7", 300 pounds, and they gunned him down. Yeah, so to your point, like that's a scary feeling. I don't like those calls, you know. Those calls where you ain't talked to a kid in like 2 or 3 years and they like, "What's up, coach?" You know, it's usually bad stuff that come with it. You know, it ain't just, "Hey, coach, I'm coming to see you." But I will say that camp, we 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 get a lot of those former players out,
Come
so
back,
I'm able to
yeah.
help. Yeah, they come back and they help, they mentor,
Yeah.
and you still gotta coach them.
Right.
You still gotta coach them like they like they look, and they still looking up to you like you the coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. But I'm getting old. But yeah, to your point, man. Yeah, that's a tough deal.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, now, man, we appreciate you coming on, man. And we know that you got a busy time ahead, so we wishing you the best this season, and even beyond this season with your goal of eventually being a head coach. And as Tony mentioned, you deserve it, and we rooting for you. And anything we can do to support, we definitely will.
No, y'all doing what y'all supposed to do. No, I really appreciate both of you. I really appreciate this platform, and you know, I'm blessed to be a part of it. You know, I really think y'all do a great job in the community. You know, and if it's anything that I can help you with, you know, don't hesitate to call, text. You know, I'm gonna do what I can, but we do have some resources, and we can help. You know, and I want to help.
My man.
All right, well, there we have it, another great episode. Thank you all for watching as always. For those who watch but you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, please like, and please share. Heart of the City with Tony and Silas, and another great guest. So until next time, peace and love.
Peace and love.